ready-to-eat meals are everywhere, and by the look of supermarket shelves, the appetite for them is only growing.
But which options are best for you and your budget? Sunrise consumer correspondent Sean White has been investigating. Morning, Sean.
Yeah, this is a craze. Dedicated sections. There's been a real explosion in these fresh meal offerings. We're all time poor and hungry for convenience, but with so many choices out there, it's hard to know which will keep you and your bank balance healthy.
Fresh out the oven, melting in mouth and loving. Bon appetit, baby.
Supermarkets are supersizing their convenient food offerings to ensure customers get fresh-made meals fast.
Everyone has got their own fresh type of meal now, whether it's Coles, whether it's dedicated brands like Sumo have developed it, some well-known brands like U Foods, and then there's also fitness brands which all have their very own ready-to-go meal.
And it's no wonder. Coles research found 33% of customers don't know at 5 p.m. what they'll be having for dinner that night. And around 50% say they don't have time to cook from scratch. For many, even hitting the shops is too much some nights. Finder research shows $2.6 billion worth of food and drink is ordered through the likes of Menulog, Uber Eats and Deliveroo every year. Well, that's an average annual spend of $1,590 per household.
There's obviously customer demand for quick and easy meals on the go, but also meals that are at a good price point because, of course, it's very competitive, there's a huge range, and it's not always easy to determine which is the best choices.
Nutritionist Susie Burrell's top tip for picking a healthy pre-made meal is to check the nutrition table.
Have a quick scan because you can tell so much from the ingredients that are in a product and also eventually the nutrition panel. So I always like to see an ingredient list that is relatively short and one that you recognise all the ingredients. And even though some of these meals are fresh, some of them have got a huge number of ingredients and additives, whereas on this variety you can literally identify the meat, the vegetables, the pasta, everything that's going in there, very clear, and you can see there's not a lot of extra additives in there.
Products that are low in veggies are a big red flag for both value and nutrition.
I can see very little green vegetables and mostly sauce or rice, and indeed when I take a closer look at those ingredient lists and also the nutritional panel, they're mostly high carbohydrate with a lot of additives in it. High up on the ingredients are things like salt, added sugars, and not a lot of the vegetables or even protein. You know, some of these meals can be as low as 20% of added meat or chicken, and that's really quite low, so you're basically paying for a lot of rice and sauce.
Another big trap is portion size.
Because there's no good having a portion control healthy meal if you end up eating 2 of them. So just be mindful that when they're relatively inexpensive or lower in calories, they're perhaps not going to fill you up. So we really need a decent sized meal to make sure that you're full and satisfied.
But can they be a clever shortcut for families?
The important thing to remember is that most of these meals are really for serves one person, so they're not an overly cost-effective option for families. And indeed, of the family options available, like a mac and cheese or a pie or even a lasagna, they tend to be heavily carbohydrate-based foods and not overly nutritionally balanced for a family. So these can be a healthy option for individuals, but for families, they're not overly cost-effective or overly nutritious.
Yeah, good point there from Susie. I mean, with the portion size as well, when you have one for an individual, sometimes you are feeling a bit more hungry.
At the end of it.
Sometimes they feel like an entree, don't they? They're just a little appetizer.
Yeah, but that shows you how much we're all overeating because that's the actual proper serving size you should have.
What?
Your stomach is only that big,
Right.
so you should only be eating that much.
Well, I got a meatballs the other day. There were 4 meatballs in it.
Big ones.
How big were the balls?
Little.
Because when I make my own meatballs, they're quite big.
What's wrong with you? You're so immature
They
today.
do. I've rolled my own and they're quite big. But how big were yours?
What's wrong with you?
You are obsessed. It was the waxing conversation earlier in the show. Let's put everyone off.
What have you started? Poor Sean, he was
I'm just trying to tell you about
Why are you so immature? You're a 63-year-old man.
She brought it up.
Oh, don't blame me when your mind wins.
You need to act your age, gosh.
Take this as it's serious.